Hi, I'm Johnny and you're watching a Hexy Beast. And on today's episode we're going to be taking a look at this game right here, Railroad Inc., the Blazing Red Edition. Anyway, let's get it to the table and see how it plays, shall we? So this is Railroad Inc. It's a competitive puzzle game for the whole family. Roll the dice and draw routes on the board, create transportation networks to connect exits, and score points at the end of the game. Play with one of the two included expansions for a more challenging experience. And as you can see, this comes with these two, but we're not going to be talking about them today. Anyway, let me just show you how a basic game of Railroad Inc. plays. Okay, so the first thing we do is to set up is to get one of these dry whiteboards. There's plenty of them in the box. We get one of these cool Railroad Inc. special pens, which are just dry white pens to draw on it. And we also get 4 dice like this, which all have different sides. So basically, if you look on the board here, this is the differential of the dice. These are all the different sides and what we can draw. One of these dice, this one, actually has all these 3 symbols on it, and the rest of the dice have those 6 on them. So basically what we do at the start of each round is we roll these dice, and then we have to choose which ones to draw on the board. And what we're trying to do is score as many points as we can by getting connections to these green stations around the edge. So let's get started, shall we? Okay, so at the beginning of my first turn, the first thing I'm going to do is roll all 4 dice, and these are the results we've gotten. Now we have to use every single result, and to start with, they have to be connected to one of these or another rail or a road. As you can see, some of them are roads, like these ones, and some of them are rails, like these ones. And sometimes they connect to each other using these little black squares, which are called stations in the game. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pick our first one to lay on the board, and I'm going to choose this one right here, which is a T-shape. We can rotate them or flip them however we feel. And I think the best thing to do for this one would be just to put it by here. And then we're going to write what turn we're on in the corner. So that's for the first turn. So that's our first road. Then I think another thing I might do is, because we've got some weird things going on up here, is I might actually do this one by here, like so. Just draw that in there and put a 1 in the corner. And I also might use this station by here in order to try and connect these two later on. So that's round 1, and the reason we're writing the round number in the corner is so we remember which round they were played on, as you're not allowed to play, you're not allowed to erase stuff off your board in the next round. So now we've just got this corner piece. I think I'm going to put that somewhere nice and easy by here. So that was basically how a round is played. Okay, let's roll our dice and see what we get. Oh, lots of roads. Although we do have this nice little crossover piece. Bear in mind, because there's no station, these are not actually connected. So it won't count towards the end of the game for us. But what it does do is enable us to put this in this bottom rail spot down here. So I'm actually going to draw this one in by here, like so. So it's going to have the road going across and then the rail going behind it. As you can see, we're getting one step closer to actually connecting a couple of these sections, and that is the first dice of round 2. Okay, so the next dice I'm going to choose is going to be this one, and I'm going to place it right by here. So we're just going to draw these roads in. Sorry for my bad handwriting, by the way. And this is going to be another one for round 2. As you can see, we've now got these two connected, which at the end of the game will give us 4 points. As well as that, while we're here, we might as well explain. These things up here are like one-time use powers. You can use 3 of them throughout a game, and you can only use 1 of them per round. And there's only 7 rounds in the game, so we're only just coming into round 2, so I don't think we need them yet. I think we'll keep them for when they're really important. So as well as that, I'm also going to take this other T-shaped road piece, and I'm going to place it going from here, I think. As you can see, the puzzle gets quite frustrating quite quickly, which is one of the things I love about it. And then this corner piece, I think I will just put it, it's got to go somewhere, so we might as well put it by here, because you have to use all the dice every turn. So that's the end of round 2. It's also worth pointing out at this point We also gain points for our longest road, we gain points for our longest rail, and we also gain points for anything inside this box. Also, at the end of the game, if we have any incomplete routes, we will be getting negative points in this box. As well as that, you've got this box which is specified in the expansions, which we're not going to be looking at today. So now just roll our dice for round 3. And let's see what we got. We got some rails, which is nice for us. We've got this, which will allow us to connect that way. In fact, that's what we're going to do now. First thing I'm going to take is this T-shaped road piece, and I'm going to lay that by here, where it's going to be quite useful, hopefully, later on. So that's the first dice of round 3. Then for the second dice, I think I'm going to use another one of these, because they've come in quite useful before, to connect like so. So we're going to have another road coming across here, and then a rail going down each side, and that is another round 3 dice. Okay, so we've got 2 more dice left in round 3, and we need to start thinking about how we're going to connect some of these rails. So I think, looking at where I've positioned them, it might be a good idea to try and get straight across. It's a very risky move, and at the same time, this could actually be quite useful in many situations. So what I'm actually going to do here, I think, is literally place this one looking at where it is. I'm going to go this way, like so. As you can see, the thinking starts to become a thing very, very quickly. I'm only on round 3, but we're nearly halfway through a game. That's one of the things I like, is the fact that it actually plays quite quickly. And then for the last one, we got this little corner piece for rail. So I think what I might actually do is do this here and that by there. So that's all the dice at the end of round 3. Now we're just going to be moving on to round 4. Okay, so now it's time to roll the dice for round 4, and here they are. And we keep getting a lot of these today. I think, looking at what we've got, it might be a good time to actually use one of our special pieces at the top. And the one I'm thinking of using is this one, believe it or not. Because actually, interesting, I might actually use this one instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that station by crossing it off. And I'm going to put the actual station part here, like so. And then the rail is going to go like so. So that's nice and easy. That's the first of round 4. And these don't come out of our dice. Oh, whoops. That's one of the things you've got to watch out for. Okay, so the cool thing about this piece here that we just drafted off the top as opposed to this piece is that these two are not connected, but this has a station in the middle. So it now means that this is now connected here, which means it's also connected to this. So now we actually have a full 2-way connection. All we got to do is block this in and it will become connected to 3 different points, which will then be worth 8 points at the end. Okay, I think what I'll do now is I'll take this T-shaped one and I'm just going to plop it right by here, I think, so that we've got another road coming out here. And these 2 guys are connected as well. If you're anything like me, you have to be pretty careful or you're just going to end up smudging it off. And then we're basically also going to take this one here. And I really can't decide where to put it. I would like to put it here, but obviously it needs to be connected to something. But if I put it this way, it might actually come in useful anyway, so we'll do that. So we're going to put it by here, and now we've just got our first one in the box. This rail's going to continue down here. And that's round 4. Then we're going to take this corner piece. I think right now our best bet is to go this way with it. And that just leaves us with the last dice of round 4 by here, which I'm just going to put by here to go around this corner. And then after I've done that, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the rest of the game and then I'm just going to show you the end game scoring. So let's get this in, the last dice of round 4. Lovely. And now let's just cut to the end of the game. Okay, so now we're going to score the game, and we're going to do this by adding up the total amount of exits that are all connected to each other in each network. So this is part of the A network. In fact, as I've looked at it, I've realized that all of them are all part of the same network because of, number 1, we got this station here, which connects this to this, which was nice. And I also noticed I'd managed to connect these in the middle. So this basically means that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stations out of 12 connected, which is a score of 40 points, which is actually a lot better than I was expecting to get. We also need to connect the longest road. Now these stations still count, but this road is obviously cut off here. So technically speaking, right now, I think our longest road is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sections long, which is another 5 points. Then we do our longest rail, and I think we've actually got a decent one here, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points from a rail. Now we also add all the points of everything that's in this middle square, which is worth 1 point each. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we just minus for each of our incomplete exits. So let's get on this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I seriously only got 4? I have. Okay, so that's 4 incomplete journeys for a -4, so that's 45, 56. Then we've got 62 minus 4 is a grand total of 58 points, which is actually one of my better games I've ever played. Anyway, so that's how the game is played. Now, I'm just going to go back and tell you what I think of the game. Okay, so now that you've seen how the game is played, it's time for me to tell you what I think. And the first category, as always, is aesthetics. And I think the art on the rulebook and the box looks really good. I thought that the board itself is very clear. It's quite easy to understand. I quite like the dry white nature, and I thought it was pretty cool that we got some custom pens with it as well. So all in all, for aesthetics, I decided to give it an 8 out of 10. That brings us on to our next category of gameplay, and I found that although it's a beat your own score game, I actually found it had a really nice balance between frustration and strategy based on those dice rolls. And I mean frustration in a good way. I was finding myself getting into round 5 and really sort of scratching my head about where to place these dice, and I actually found it was quite an engaging puzzle. So for that reason, for gameplay, it's also got an 8 out of 10. Okay, so that brings us on to accessibility. And I have to say that I think I'm actually going to give this one a 7 out of 10. I know that I don't have very good handwriting, and that was obviously a bit of a barrier for me. But I do think overall it is a very easy game to learn. It's a very easy game to get in your head. And I just found myself constantly wiping out my own stuff. It's something that, although it is a roll and write, I think that this kind of game might actually work better with some tiles. So for that reason, I've actually given it a 7 in accessibility. So anyway, let's move on to the total score. Okay, so that gives Railroad Ink Blazing Red Edition a total score of 7.6 out of 10. I just have to say, I've been quite enjoying the mix of dice rolling and strategy that this game has offered me. I found the challenge quite engaging, and even though it's quite short, I think it's actually a perfect game to play in your lunch hour, or for me, while editing at the desk. I actually think this is going to be one of the games I take on the train to me on my way to UKGE at the end of the month. So anyway, if you like anything you see here or anything on my shelf, please feel free to check out the link to Firestone Games in my description. Also, if you've been enjoying the video, please feel free to smack that subscribe button up there and check out another one of my videos up here. Anyway, I've been Johnny, you've been watching the Hexy Beast. Thank you for watching, and most of all, stay hexy everyone!